All right, everyone. It is sunny Thursday. Hopefully, it's sunny where you are. It is definitely sunny where we are. And we're hoping for a good upcoming weekend. I mean, even in Pennsylvania, it was like 82 degrees yesterday. So summertime is coming. Right, Ken?
Listen, I'm just glad you brought me to a place that was sunny. That's all I'm happy about right now. I mean, I didn't get to go out there and enjoy it, but it's certainly nice to look out the window and see sun and water, and it's definitely a beautiful, beautiful place down here in Tampa.
Yeah, sunny Tampa, Florida. We're at this week. It's been interesting. Lots of cool little kind of MSP community companies in the mix down here. So you never know who you're gonna run into. Actually, I'll even throw something in there. I ran into Arnie Bellini yesterday. You believe that?
Yeah, we were talking about that. That's crazy, right? But we also
Walking out of the door, I'm like, Arnie Bellini's like, Bardisi? I'm like, yeah, what's going on, man?
oh, sorry, Chad's sending me a note now saying he does not have the link.
All right, I'll send it to you. It's in the chat here.
All right, I know I have it anyways, somewhere.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me just do that. And yeah, I mean, we are kind of sitting in the middle of his homeland, right?
Yeah, seriously, no joke. Absolutely, just rolled in, walked out the door. I was walking out of the door of an office building, and I was like, Arnie Bellini? Yeah, straight up. Weird, right?
Weird and not weird at the same time.
No, hey, I get it.
You know, this is like I said, this is the homeland.
100%. Yeah, I just sent that link to you in the Zoom chat here.
Yeah, he's right. It's not in the actual calendar.
Yeah, I should have sent him a separate one. So send him that link.
Sorry about that. Let's get that to him and get Chad on here so we can focus on Chad. And then, also we did when we did the tour down here, we had AVIT who hosted us down here in Tampa.
That's true.
That was a really great location. It was a great day.
They were the one that went to the entire rest of the business park and got doubled in on the pallet of food.
That's right. They did. It was that was really cool.
Yeah, very exciting. They did. I think they actually had 2 pallets when it was all said and done. They sent us a couple.
It ended up going by weight, and I want to say that they donated like 700 pounds.
Wow,
which is insane.
That is insane.
And on top of that, we had we did send the pallet, what was that? 24 cases of water or something like that. Yeah,
it was a lot of water, man.
So that was great because we had the leftover water after Texas, so it was perfect.
Yeah, ton of water.
It is not taking the copy and paste onto this thing.
Ton of water. When we started with a pallet, it didn't go. Started at the right tip, right?
Yeah, exactly. We definitely started at the right place with the water for sure.
100%.
All right, I'm gonna click it because it's not letting me do what I need to do. And then poor Chad's gonna have to fill all this stuff out, but we'll get him here. We are gonna get him here. All right, sent that to Chad. We'll get him on here. I'm pretty sure between the two of us, we can find stuff to talk about until we get good old Chad on here, which Chad's company is Universal Data, and he's in New Orleans. And that was a great spot, except it was cold.
Definitely not cold like it now. It's warm right now here, but cold then.
No, yeah. No. But when we were in New Orleans for that trip, it was the last day of the trip. It was a Friday and it was cold. It was definitely one of those days where people did not want to come out because it was really freezing. And we had an interesting food truck too that you saw the pictures on that.
Yeah, that was an interesting choice.
Well, no. That was a little bait and switch because the pictures on the page were real food trucks, and then we got not a real food truck. But the food was good.
Well, at least the food was good.
The food was good. That's all that matters. It's not about aesthetics. It's about the product, right? It was good. Everything they delivered us.
Well, aesthetics could be an issue.
Well, you're right. It was a little scary. I mean, I got to admit, when I first went up there, I thought I was going to get tetanus because it was just this big metal trap.
Yeah. Oh, it was
So
interesting, for sure.
yeah, it was. So why don't we talk a little bit about the trip?
Which trip?
Channel Strong.
Well, I'm getting excited for the next Channel Strong trip.
That's what I'm talking about. Let's talk about the next one. And when Chad comes on, we can talk a little bit about New Orleans and his spot and what we did there. He's here.
Sure.
Hey,
There he is.
There he is. Sorry,
Welcome.
Chad. I just noticed myself that I just take it for granted because I already have. I went there and I'm like, oh, just get it out of the calendar invite. I'm like, oh, it's not in the calendar invite.
Yeah, I did the same.
Sorry about that.
That's
You're
all
here
right.
now.
Yes. Can you still on tour?
No, not. We'll be back on tour in May, end of May. Yeah. So I was just telling everybody, we have who you are, but I want you to give a little introduction to yourself, talk about your company a bit, where you guys are at, what you do, all that stuff. Chad hosted us. He's in New Orleans. We had a great event there and hung out with him. I was just mentioning how cold it was that day.
Yeah, y'all brought the north weather with y'all.
Yeah. Yeah, we can probably take that blame for that. It was definitely chilly, even for us Northerners. It was pretty cold.
Yeah.
Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your company?
So I'm Chad Perrier. I'm Vice President of Universal Data. I run day-to-day operations over here. We've been in business since about 1982, working to, as in general, and specifically helping businesses solve technology problems, or even solve problems with technology. So as times have changed, we've evolved with those changes. And right now we are a full outsourced IT service provider that provides not only just managed services, project services, security services, a list of services in trying to be our clients in our region's full IT service provider.
Nice. And so just quickly, obviously, the reason why we do the tour, and, it was nice to have that face-to-face moment, with COVID happening and all of that. And you were just talking about how you've been pivoting.
We're hoping for a good upcoming weekend. I mean, even in Pennsylvania, it was like feedback loop. Go ahead.
With that pivot, that change that happened, what was it like for you guys rolling into COVID? What were the things that happened? And, for you, was it status quo? Things just went the same? Did you have to pivot, or did things get really, really hard before you made that change? What was it like for you guys?
So we actually, 2 weeks before the national shutdown, we sent everybody home in preparation for it. So we started, one of the fortunate things about being down here is we're able to get a head start on things because we're seeing the Northeast and even California, they take action a little bit more quickly than we do. So we sent people home in preparation for our clients being sent home. So by the time that the shutdown happened and our clients were scrambling to go home, we already had our people posted up in order to take that influx of calls. That doesn't mean that we were able to prevent that influx, but we were able to manage it a little bit better than I think others were able to. Probably for a month, it was a matter of changing environments, making changes that we normally wouldn't make to environments in order to get the client's business up and running. After that, we started cleaning up the things that we changed to do so in make sure they were accessing the systems in a more secure manner. We buttoned up any holes that we had put into their networks in order to make sure that that they were able to run their businesses in the long term in a safe and secure manner.
It's so funny, George, how many times did we hear this where we were talking about even the most mature companies had to do this at such a speed, get people to work from home, that they were bypassing their normal rules and requirements, right? Because the main thing was people had to work from home. Now, you still made them secure, but it wasn't by your normal high standards. And is everybody going back and looping back and fixing that? It sounds like you guys did, but
yeah,
we hear this so much. And then it's like, well, okay, if the mature guys are struggling with this, how about the smaller guys? What did they do to get these people working from home? And are they learning from everybody's saying the same thing. Yes, we all had this issue, but you have to go back. And especially now is the time to do that, right? Things are starting to come back to a level playing ground again, and things are evening out. This would be the time to reset up, go back and circle back and fill those gaps.
Yeah, our conversation now with our clients is, helping them plan through a hybrid work environment. For the most part, everybody is back in the office. The larger organizations, larger corporations, they have a hybrid work environment. But if if somebody's kid or if somebody is winds up getting infected with COVID while they're at the office, they need to be able to continue maintaining their operations while they have their staff that was exposed to that person working from home. So getting a feel for what their business strategy is to address that, making sure that we're giving them the tools and resources in order to meet that objective, where they can run their business agilely.
Nice. So go ahead, George.
Give us a little bit of background about what the typical size customer is, and how many endpoints do you guys manage?
So we have a little bit of different type of service providers. We're not doing only the all-you-can-eat only end user. We have an offering where we're managing their infrastructure, where we're managing their network only. So if we talk about how many devices we're managing, that can be upwards of 4,000. But if we talk about how many end users, how many people are we managing, that's closer to 2,000 to 2,500.
Nice.
It's good to know. No, so let me ask you this. So is there a particular, are you doing any hardware as a service? Is there a particular device footprint that you put out there? Or is it basically miscellaneous across the board?
No, we have our standard stack that we would prefer. We do have clients that have things that are not in our standard stack, but in our supportable stack, what we call it. If we pick up new clients who have things that are in our unsupportable stack, we'll work with them on a roadmap in order to get them to a point where we can support them and manage them. We're training our team to manage specific environments, focusing on one, but also, you need to cross-train in this industry. So cross-training them in order to support Cisco firewalls, Meraki firewalls, Cisco environments, but that is not in our what we call our standard, but that is supported.
So did you morph your, nothing proprietary here, share what you're willing to, but do you take a bronze, gold, silver approach, or is it more of one package with some slight adjustments as you go along?
I hate the bronze, gold package type. When we talk about tiers or levels, it's more on the security side of things. We don't want to. We have a remote and on-site, but we don't want to try and tier how we're supporting our clients. We don't want to train our staff to give a little bit less effort in one case because they're bronze and give a little bit more effort on the gold side of it. But I think that comes into place with the security suite, is how many layers of protection does the client want to put into their environment? How susceptible are they in accepting some of the risk that's involved with not having MFA enabled, not having some type of DNS or some type of EDR in place, and helping them work through there. And I think on the security side of it, that's where you start to get into, tiers, but even just service offerings and solution offerings is a better term for that.
Interesting. It makes a lot of sense, right? Because I've been saying now for a long time, the security stuff's basically becoming its own stack. It's becoming so deep that it's countering the normal technology stack from even 5 years ago. It's different. How are you, when you went to go decide those security components, were you, I'm sure there was a shopping period, right? To determine what made sense, what price point, test stuff out to make sure that it fit, right? Are you did you go down the Microsoft road heavily first and then decide what add-ons after? Like, how did you decide?
So we started looking at it by what we felt our customers needed as the biggest priority, and we started, what we call proof of concepts with various providers and various solution offerings. And through that, you talk about the solution, what it does, what it offers, what it provides to the client. You talk about what type of client will it fit in, which pricing will play a factor in that. If you have the best security tool out there, but none of our clients that we offer or 5% of our clients that we support can afford that, does that really make sense for us to take that on? Although it may be a superior product, none of our clients can afford it. So, why are we going to try and build our service around that? So, fulfilling our clients' needs, I think, is the biggest, our biggest objective through that, and making sure that we can stand behind the products that we're talking to them while we're supporting their needs is a factor that we have to make sure that we're taking considerations.
No, 100%. I mean, let's face it, though, a lot of the decision makers, check signers, whatever, C-levels, owners, whatever title you want to use, they just don't know what EDR means or SOC means or MDR or all of that stuff, right? And listen, the same acronyms played a part earlier in the game, right? RTO, RPO, cost of recovery, right? That kind of stuff. So, like, when you went to go position this technology to your customers, how did you, what was the more simplified English, that you put in front of them so that they could understand what you were actually doing?
The first piece of it is educating them around just the security environment in general. And once they're educated about, our security environment, the world that we live in today and how this may impact their business, we talk to them about what the product does and how it can help them. And you take the approach of, explaining these various products and even prioritize and look at, in your position, understanding what we know about your business. This is what I would say would be the top priority for you at this time. We understand that we can't go in and just for them to implement everything all at once. So we help try to provide them with a roadmap that meets their business needs. And part of it is weighing the risks that they want to tolerate. Some organizations will be a little bit more tolerable to risk than others. And that plays into building that roadmap for them. We want to make sure that we are maintained as a partner to them. What we say is we don't want to be put in the vendor zone. We want to be a partner.
I love that. And Chad, I was just going to say
vendor zone, man.
The vendor zone.
We've graduated from the friend zone to the vendor zone.
Well, I love the fact that you talk about, education, because I'm a strong believer in education. And, how do you expect anybody to want to do anything with you if they don't understand what you do in the first place? And so I think the education is super important across all fronts, right? Educating your people, educating your partners. And I know for a lot of the people going through when COVID first hit and they were trying to find ways to get to the next level, doubling down on marketing by educating anybody who would listen, hey, you want to know the best ways for work from home? Hey, do you want to get the most out of Teams? Are you guys doing stuff like that as well, where you're putting it out there to just the whole community?
Yeah, and we've always taken that approach. So pre-COVID, we would do lunch and learns, where it wasn't to push a product, but it was to educate them about a solution and what this solution does. We are, living in Louisiana and New Orleans, we're very susceptible to hurricanes. So we would do it on an annual basis, disaster recovery and planning and preparation seminars, where we would talk about the various things that you want to take in consideration when building a true disaster recovery plan. So we didn't want to be looked upon as somebody that is trying to push product or push a solution down people, or not a solution, but pushing product down people. We want to make sure that we're providing them with the solution to some of their business problems.
It's like he saw my presentation today, George.
You know what? You keep good company, Ken. What can I tell you?
That's right. That's right. Chad, I was just talking to his people about that very thing. It's about the solution, not the product. And if they have a business problem and you have a business solution, and it It makes perfect sense. When you're talking about the gadgets and the gadgets and you're really getting, no one cares. No one really cares about that stuff. And as Paul Redding says, they start to turn into Charlie Brown's teacher. All they hear is want,
Yep.
want, money, want.
And those are the things that build trusting, long-lasting relationships, and that's what we want to do. We don't want to work with the organization for 6 to 12 months just to have them go find somebody else because we continue pushing things. We want to build a relationship the way they know that they can trust us. We, as IT service providers in general, we're probably one of the most trusted vendors or partners our customers will have, because we are giving them and talking to them about things that most of them know nothing about. So they need to trust that we're looking out for them and that we're going to be acting in their best judgment, in their best interest.
So it sounds like you're, based on how we started off this call, that you're doing a fair bit of co-managed, right? Where maybe the customer has some sort of resource internally and you may be coming in behind them covering certain pieces that they're not, right? And instead of doing the whole thing, how much of that are you doing?
That is a fair amount of our business. Now, that's not the only thing that we're doing, but we do have a focus around that. And that pairs, and I guess one of the reasons we're successful with that is we do a good bit of project work.
Okay.
So that ties well into the repeat customers that we do project work for. And the project work that we do is not just a one-time deal. Okay. We usually work with these organizations on a repeat basis. So
like, what's a typical size customer that you're doing this with? 200 employees, 150 employees, 50 employees?
The co-managed is probably 150 plus.
Okay.
Yeah. That sounds accurate. Just as a standard, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
So when you're prospecting or educating or trying to get in touch with a prospective customer in that size, are you talking to the IT resource? Are you talking to the finance person? Like, where do you start that dialogue?
For those organizations, you're either talking to like an IT director or a CIO. The CFO will certainly get involved at some point in time because it's a matter of, do they build this internally or do they want to work with us to manage it while maintaining some internal resources? Those are the two primary people. And the small organizations, when you do the full managed, it's generally the CFO, CEO, the president. But those larger organizations, you had that CIO level person who understands that they're looking at it from the business perspective and trying to drive those things. They understand the value that some organization like us can bring to them.
Yeah, and I would imagine, I know this kind of from the co-managed space, but I do like I could definitely tell co-managed was a big part of your plan when you talk about roadmaps, because the roadmap piece is super important for them to understand that long-term, what they're going to do and how you can help piece those pieces in, right? And they're going to be able to use you as a resource as opposed to keep paying into HR and hiring bodies that may or may not stay, where you guys are kind of a locked in entity that can handle that stuff for them. Right. So I really love that you brought that part up. And then the next thing I was going to say, and I'm sure you're going to agree, and I'd love to hear some of your stories, but I'm guessing you're making these director of ITs your best buddy, right? Those are your champions. Those are the guys that you're like, hey, we're going to make you look good type of thing.
Yeah. Our objective is to make them look good. And one of our slogans here is we want to be your best employee. If we're able to fulfill that and be successful at being their best employee, we're making the people that have decided to hire us look good. We're helping them in their day-to-day operations drive the things that they're doing, because they know that they can trust us, that we're accountable to things that we say we're going to do, and we follow through with those things.
Give me your best story of the nervous, the people who aren't so secure in their job when you come in and say, hey, we're going to do all this stuff, and then they get nervous that you're coming in to take their job. How do you get past that? Have you had those experiences when you come in and the IT guy doesn't have anywhere near the breadth of experience that you guys do because of all you see? what are those experiences like for you guys, or have you even stumbled across them?
No, we absolutely do. And almost without fail, that when they maintain internal IT resources, it starts off with a little bit of uncertainty.
Right.
They're not certain about what our true intentions are. They're not certain about the things that we're doing. And there's a little bit of a territorial relationship at first. The piece to that is you need to make sure that we're working with them, not against them, not dictating the things that they're doing, but showing them how we can help them. And if you're doing that in a true partnership, in a true collaborative manner, over time, those walls will be broken down, and you're building a good working relationship with the feet on the ground. And it's they're able to see on their day-to-day efforts that we're helping their jobs, helping them, help their jobs go a little bit smoother, not have to deal with the firefights on a daily basis because we're managing things properly in the back end. And we need their support in order to do our job properly. We cannot be working against them. They can't be working against us.
Right. And of course, it's like my big thing was I used to say, I don't want your job. In fact, I need you. I need more people like you because it makes my life easy. All we want to do is provide you with the tools and make you look good. And then, by the way, you don't have to hire new people to do projects. You don't have to hire new people. You have us. You don't have to worry about that HR headache. None of that stuff. We're just going to make you look good. And I love the way that comes in. But I've also bumped into some people who were, a friend of a friend or somebody's son or something like that were in the position, didn't really have a whole lot of experience. Yeah. And got into, they got super nervous mode and they were trying to push away. So finding a way to wedge yourself in there for their own good is a very interesting thing.
And it's one thing to say it, but that old slogan, action speaks louder than words.
Yes.
That holds true in there. We can tell them how much we're going to help them till we're blue in the face.
Right.
But if we're not truly helping them and if they're not seeing those results, it's never going to change.
How often are you communicating with the people, the internal resource, right? I mean, obviously education is a big part of your plan. I mean, those guys are already tight on time, right? They're probably understaffed from day zero to begin with.
Right.
So we make it a point early on to over communicate, to make sure that we're able to build that trusting relationship, build that relationship to begin with. But even after that, we're communicating with them at least once a week, if not more. Some of them, it's all depending. All depends on the type of people, the type of engagement that we have, and the things that they got going on. Some of them we talk to daily, every other day. Some of them we have just a standing weekly call with them.
How much reporting are you being asked to generate?
Honestly, ask not all that often.
Yeah.
We're not. They're not asking us to report. By providing them with the roadmap, by providing them with the things that we're doing, and staying on top of those things, holding ourselves accountable to say, this is what we're doing over the next month, 3 months. Here's what we've done. Here's kind of where the status is, whether it's still outstanding or complete. Here's our next month, the 3-month objectives. Some of that reporting is not needed. Now, when they have board meetings, they may want to see, uptimes, things of that nature, which we can provide them with the reports. But on a consistent basis, I wouldn't say much.
Wow. You know what, Ken? That just goes to show you if the blueprint's good, you don't need to send them the weekly, quarterly, monthly, daily. Like they expect that it's just you're on the track, right?
Well, they're not reading them anyways, so save a tree.
Yeah, you can. We forego the thud factor, giving them a stack of papers right there and said, "There you go. There's your reports." It's all about the results.
Like, so what's typical projects that you're running into then? Is it, I mean, I'm sure is it cloud migration? Is it Office 365 stuff? Like, just give us an idea. I
would say the top 3 would be cloud migrations, a fair amount. We do a lot of networking, a lot of networking, mobility, making sure they're especially with COVID now, if they want to go with in a open environment, if they want to be able to move around, if they're doing what's called the hot desking, and all of a sudden they want to go sit at the in the kitchen to go eat, they need to make sure they have the same speeds and feeds while they're sitting in the kitchen than they would be sitting at what was their desk is now a shared desk. And the third one is the security, is maintaining that security, a certain level of security within these environments. As that changes and as our threat environment changes, we need to make sure we're staying on top of those.
So are you like, how is the work? So if it's all shared work, shared environment, shared desk, shared open office kind of setup, really, like, are you now at this point, the computer that's being issued to the person is now just a laptop? They're like, is the desktop even a thing anymore?
Those are going away. Those, we're even doing it internally. But we're seeing less and less desktops being purchased. When they're available, you're seeing more and more laptops being purchased. But I mean, you're talking about, I'm hearing 12 weeks out for some of these laptops, which is crazy. So at that case, if they need it, then you get what's available.
Yeah, I had somebody last week say that Dell was telling them on this one model, July.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got
July.
August, so
yeah.
Let me know what that model is. I might have to get that one.
Can't make them fast enough.
No, I know.
Are you a Dell shop, Lenovo? What are you putting out there?
Primarily HP.
HP. Right.
Yeah.
Right on. I know Ken can't wait for his Ken just got Surface headphones, so he's like, "Where's my other Surface stuff?"
Yep.
Go ahead, Ken.
I'm good. No, I'm definitely down for that. Now that you publicly mentioned it, Chad, I'm going to need you to swear in court. You just heard George say sending a Surface. So.
We need pictures.
Did I say that? I just said he's expecting. I didn't say it was on the way, right?
Yeah, but I'm going to twist it. And Chad, you had, while we were there, you had a good amount of employees, back, it seemed like anyways. We saw a lot of them peeling out, giving us the finger, waving goodbye. But what was
they act like they didn't know who I was. So that finger must have been for you.
Yeah. Are you guys, are they back? Do you have people all back in the office? Is there a mix? How are you guys?
It's a hybrid. It's a hybrid.
Yeah.
In one given day, we may have 15 people here. The next, we may have 5. The next, we may have 30. We allow our staff to work flexible in what they're doing. Whether they're in the field, whether they're working from home, we make sure that their job's getting done. All throughout the pandemic, we even told them this works only if you allow it to work, only if you make it work. And to date, they've made it work.
That's great. And so, have any plans for this to become where it's not really even an office, like we talked about the shared desk thing? What are your thoughts on having it scale to a different level of being hybrid, where you just have a spot where they can come in, do their thing, but they're mostly working remote?
So in our specific case, we renovated a building right before COVID, and we moved in right before COVID. So we got this pretty office building with the glass that you can see on the door right there all throughout, that sat empty for 9 months. So we're not mandating people to come back, and we anticipate our clients will have the same working hybrid environment for the most part for the foreseeable future. So we're letting our staff know, at least for the next 4 months, that look, it's going to be business as it has been. I'll say usual, as unusual,
right? Yeah.
As it has been, and we'll continue to evaluate as our environment changes, and as the nation changes. And our clients, for the most part, our clients are doing the same. As long as they're able to get their jobs done, whether that's in the office or outside of the office, they're going to continue maintaining those things. But I do feel there's, if nothing else, if not just the physical, the mentality of some of these business owners, some of these operation guys has changed to where we'll be more flexible. it will allow for more remote collaboration. And the thing that I'm most excited about is that if this pandemic didn't teach us anything, it's how to use technology the way that it was intended to. So they have adapted to and accepted the way that some of these tools were meant to be used.
So I agree with you 100%. That's actually a great line. You know, I always talk about the fact that it's basically taken security and cloud and launched it into the stratosphere where it never would have probably even got to in the next 5 years. So it's completely expanded that. But that's a great point. So we were talking about Comanaged. So how is this affecting those internal IT folks who their main reason for being there is they run around and do all this crazy stuff, right? Because everything's there at the office. Are some of these larger 150, 200 people going to hybrid, and does that shrink their role, or is there a way that it still augments to where they're still doing all the things that they need? I know that everything that you do is still there because clearly, cloud or not, you still have to manage and monitor everything. But what about those? What about their roles? Are you seeing a change there at all?
I'm seeing a change if they're not able to adapt. You know, we all in IT, we need to be able to adapt to our surroundings and adapt to our environment. And if some of these organizations aren't able to adapt, then I certainly do see those changes, because people understand that they need to adapt and they need to be able to work in a different manner. And if their on-site staff's not able to do that, regardless if it's IT or not, but I think IT is on the forefront of that, changes will happen.
Yep, that's right. Because if you don't, something will.
Correct.
Where do you see, like, fast forward 12 months from now, right? 2022, May of 2022. What's changing from now until then?
That's a good question.
Crystal ball.
I see it a lot. I don't see much changing from 2022. 2023 is where I see the bigger change. And this is just my personal opinion, but I see the shift going back to where it was pre-pandemic. I think this work environment will be like this for at least the next 2 years. And I think there will be a shift back towards where it's still a little bit of a hybrid, but it'll be more remote than it is now.
Interesting.
But I think people that went off and bought houses in the Carolinas or bought houses in Florida, they're still going to want that ability to go work from their beach house for 2 weeks at a time. And that's where those tools will still need to be able to be maintained and accelerated.
Well, how about the poor people who, got a job out Boston as an example, because that's where I live, but got a job in Boston, Converse is in Boston. They're owned by Nike now. So I know somebody who had to move closer to the city. So didn't have their nice place where they were in New Hampshire. They moved closer to Boston. They're paying high premiums. They got this condo close to the city, and then COVID hits. And they tell everybody they can work from home. And now it's been a shift. Like, that's going to be a little bit weird, right? Because the city life is what blew up from all of that. And now they're saying we're going to shift to home, and that's going to be a permanent thing.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that I guess that is a piece that I can expand upon from at least what I believe will happen. Is those larger organizations who has remote workers that have moved, they're going to see where they have moved to. And somebody like Spotify, I know Spotify has a few people down here in New Orleans. And once they realize, oh, I got 10 people down in New Orleans, they wanted to get out of Silicon Valley and they wanted to move to New Orleans to experience the culture. They're going to say, all right, let's open up a little remote hub in New Orleans, where now our staff can work together and start collaborating. And they'll have I guarantee the Carolinas, the people in the beach houses in Florida, it'll be similar to that. They'll see where their remote workers have been dispersed to, and maybe open up a small little office there, as opposed to having this whole campus in one site. They'll have little offices, which the things that we're doing for them will still need to be maintained. The connectivity, the cloud-based, the security side of it, those will all need to be maintained.
Huddle offices.
Say that again?
Huddle offices.
Huddle offices.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I definitely can see that.
I mean, there's already all this flex office space. I mean, all they have to do is get a membership and then just drive people to the local location, right?
Yep.
And that's what the Regis is, and what was the other WeWorks and all those other guys. I mean, it's the same.
Right.
I mean, it's actually not a bad idea. I mean, I mean, we've seen it on the technology side. Are you seeing your end customers starting to utilize hey, I need to hire people and I can hire them from anywhere in the United States. What I got to worry about just my state, my city. You seeing a lot of that popping up?
We are seeing that. We're hearing those conversations. That's more for I guess some of those professional organizations and some in the non-typical service industry, but we're absolutely seeing that. And we've taken that approach as well. We hired somebody that is about 3 hours away from here that we would have historically have not hired pre-COVID, and it's worked out beautifully.
I mean, in technology industry, they've been doing this for years, right? They're like, hey, I would love if I hire somebody a time zone or two over, I now expanded the ability of time coverage, right?
Yep.
From a continuity standpoint, it doesn't hurt that, if a hurricane comes through, and they're in an area where that wouldn't be affected, that's probably not a bad idea either.
Honestly, I like it. When we've always had some money in Florida, and when a hurricane comes through or power happens or for some crazy reason we got a freeze out this year, he was able to continue manning the ship while we all scrambled to get our operation back up and running and take care of our clients on site.
I'm curious. I mean, this is just a George random thought. I gotta think that because of the reoccurring kind of storm situation in your area, I mean, have they beefed up the 4G, 5G cell infrastructure to be a little bit more resilient? I feel like it's just, like if your internet line goes down because the line got cut or the pole went down, it's gonna be a while.
No, unfortunately we have not. The big conversation for us is the broadband, and even providing rural broadband to some of these areas that don't have it currently. We have not seen much on the 5G side of it.
Wow.
A little bit on the 4G side.
Wow. So they're behind.
I don't think anybody's seen much on the 5G side. They have a little thing on their phone that says it's 5G, but I gotta be honest, I'm not feeling it.
Well, they have that, but I'm talking about, public access and citywide.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can only we talk about it as once in a blue moon, right? You're like, well, the carriers oversubscribe all their stuff because when something bad happens, everything's jammed. But you live that. That could be an annual thing for you.
Well, last year was more than once.
Yeah, you had a few.
We had, I think, 12 to 15 last year that didn't hit, but threatened us. One serious one that hit, but even people 2 hours over, they got hit with 3, I believe. It was crazy.
Yeah, and you guys had that small town there just north that got wiped out. Like the place was just flattened. Oof.
Yeah, and they got 2. They had one that came back like a month and a half later.
Right.
That's crazy. I mean, they got to start. Everything's got to be underground now. I mean, they almost can't put telephone poles up.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how they're doing it in certain areas, but we have to prepare for it. That's the world not the world, but the region we live in.
Yeah.
So on the broadband side, are you starting to how much fiber versus you know what I mean? Like, what's the speeds looking like now? If
So
that's
in the greater New Orleans area, that's readily available. We're talking about once you start getting outside the greater New Orleans area in some of these rural areas where, when people went home, kids and parents did not have access to the internet to continue working remote. That's where I think our state's talking about right now. In some of the other areas, it's more about the affordability of it. Can they afford it?
Yeah, totally understand. It'll be interesting to see if Starlink is actually what they say it is.
Yeah.
That'd be cool if it was like legit 100 meg down, 20 meg up, like basically what the cable guys were pushing for like a decade. I mean, if it works, it'd be super.
Yeah.
Well, and places like that will surely appreciate it.
Absolutely.
You could put Starlink on top of the bus.
I thought we had it with all the connectivity you had in there.
Yeah, well, we've got a hotspot from every carrier. So, I mean, you know, you can just swim in whatever pool you like. So when it comes to cloud, are you like, how deep are you into like virtual desktop, you know, versus, you know, kind of like, I know that's kind of getting popular now where they have this like cloud VPN type deployment, but I'm curious how much of like the Azure stuff have you gotten into?
We've gotten in a little bit of it. When we, I guess, talk to a client, it's about the makeup of their work, of their staff. So some of the older, more mature, I think more mature age-wise, they're a little bit less susceptible to a change in the look and appearances. So I think a VDI environment works good in those type of instances. Where it's a little bit more of a younger organization, more millennials, I think some of the things that Microsoft's doing with SharePoint is phenomenal. And they can learn to how to share and collaborate on these documents that I just don't think that some of the older generation would adapt to at this time. So
Yeah.
it's a mixed environment. You see Azure, you see WVD, you see SharePoint, you're seeing certain things like that.
Yeah, 100%.
And then you're seeing some that just want to keep their servers on site.
Yeah, how's that work when the power's out?
It doesn't. Simple answer, it doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and at what point do you say, are those the customers I want to service? You know,
Right.
There's got to be a breaking point where, you know, you're taking on just as much, if not more, risk by allowing them to do that. And then they're coming back at you when things are going wrong as it's coming back up while they're down. You know, at some point you got to say, this is not, you know, they don't value what we're doing or what we're telling them to do. And now what the world is telling them to do.
Right.
Yeah.
What's your, are you doing anything special with security on like mobile devices, cell phones, you know, iOS, Android, tablets, that kind of stuff?
We're protecting those in specifically HIPAA related environments,
Yeah.
ones that have to comply with HIPAA. The other ones, it's kind of on an as needed basis. But if those mobile devices have access to EPHI, then you need to take the proper precautions and measures to protect those devices.
Yeah. I love when people go to the Best Buy and then they come back and then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, where'd that come from? I just got it yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not good. Do you, you know, generally speaking, are you, last year, did you end up even, negative, positive on like a growth standpoint? This year, where do you feel things are going?
Last year, I guess we maintained. We were able to keep all of our staff. We were able to service all of our clients. This year, you're seeing a little bit of that pent up demand from last year, just due to the uncertainty. Now people are starting to, you know, make decisions, make changes, whether it's changing IT vendors or whether it's taking on projects that they put on hold from last year. So this year, I think is going to be a big growth year for us, make up for what last year was and the uncertainty of it. So we're excited about it.
That's
I
awesome.
was going to say, if you guys are, your projects are how you're getting your foot in the door and you're using those projects as your roadmap, keeping yourself in the picture because they need to finish this roadmap and things like that. It must have hurt you guys a little bit because when those projects are not happening, you're not getting those same opportunities.
Correct. And it's not only that, it's, you know, June of this time of last year, all the way through probably August, is how many people wanted to change IT providers at the time? How many people wanted to make a shift of that nature with the uncertainty that loomed above all of our heads? Right. Uncertainty of their business, uncertainty of our business. So even if they were unhappy at the time, they said, all right, it's the devil I know. I'm gonna stay put. And then once, I guess, things started becoming a little bit, I don't want to say more clear, but they accepted the unknown. They were willing to and able to make changes.
Yeah, I found that we found early on some people were a bit aggressive. I liked the message, the idea behind it, but I mean, what was it? Was it April, George? Somebody sent out an email and basically said, is your IT guy able to do this, and had a list. And I was like, wow, like very aggressive. Like during a pandemic, you're like, but the idea behind it is true. Like if you're educating people and just saying, look, here's a simple checklist. These are the things that your IT guy should be doing. And I'm only telling you this because we want to keep you educated, right? If you take that approach, we were finding that people were doing really well because they found there was a lot of IT companies out there not necessarily keeping up. They were putting their heads in the sand and waiting for it to go by, as opposed to being proactive and really staying on top of it. So that was one area where you were getting that change, because all you had to do is say, are they using these specific solutions? Do you feel comfortable with what's going on? Are you hearing from your people every week to check in and make sure that things are going the way they should be? And when they can't answer yes to all those questions, it's almost an automatic meeting and conversation.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but yeah, the one guy's website was aggressive. Month one, and he was just like, boom. Well, we saw this with vendors too, right? We saw one vendor literally said ditch with the vendor's name in it.
Oh, wow.
And come to us for 50% off anything they offer you. Day one of the pandemic, I'm like, this is just gross. Like, it's just a bad way of doing things. I get it. I get what you're trying to do, but not the right timing. So yeah, we saw people doing it in a bit of a slimy way, a bit aggressive on both sides. Yeah, from the vendor side, and of course, from that one MSP that was just like super aggressive. But I think you can do it the right way. Like I said, just going out and saying, hey, we're just trying to educate. Is this checklist even a thing for you? Are your people doing these things? If not, you should probably talk to somebody. I'm here, but you can talk to anybody.
Yeah.
That type of mentality.
It's about who you want to be.
Right. Exactly.
It's a good point. 100%. We're excited to get back out there, right? I think, like you said, it's going to be a slow grind back to normal, but I was actually we're just in a meeting today, and they're saying, talking heads are saying that June, July, and August may be the largest travel season that we've seen in 20 years. And that business may kind of grind to a halt in July because everyone's going to be on vacation. Do you buy into that? Are you already hearing grumblings from your guys on that?
Absolutely. And I had a conversation with a customer yesterday that said, because she was talking about, I want to go, travel somewhere. I was like, you better start booking, because things are being booked out till September and October, because this pent up demand, people are getting out. And just to reiterate to that, we held our first public client event, last week or 2 weeks ago? I'll lose time. It was last week. It was, they had the Zurich Classic down here in New Orleans. So it was a golf tournament. They opened it up. You had to follow proper restrictions, wearing a mask. But we sponsored a little, what they call the tailgate zone. We got our own little section. We invited a bunch of clients to it, and we got to get back to speaking with our clients on a more casual, personal basis, and I loved it. People are itching to get back out.
Yeah, could be a long drive to the next beach.
Hey, listen, I was doing invites for one of our events, the internal events like the boot camp or mission briefing or something like that. And I was shocked to see how many emails I got back that said, I'm on vacation. It's now, like right now. And then at the same time, I was paying attention to Facebook, and I was amazed at how many people that I knew that are in Aruba right now or have been in Aruba in the last 3 or 4 weeks. So people are already going and running and going crazy. So I can't imagine what it's going to be like you said, that June, July, August timeframe.
It'll be real. I think it's a real thing.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to see how many people are working from the beach and just not telling. That's what I'm saying.
So you're saying we're going to have to get some new cooling for these laptops when they're outside in the sun getting roasted?
You know what? I was setting up a Microsoft Surface Book 3 for a new person that was coming on board the other day. I was sitting at a kitchen table. I have this nice glass door right next to the kitchen table, and I got the temperature screen. I was on the LCD. I was like, whoa, I didn't know that was built into there. I was like, must be in the sun.
Nice.
So yeah, we'll have to figure that out. Chad, really appreciate you, helping us out and coming out on the tour when we were in town. I wasn't able to be there, but I know Ken had some interesting stories about our visit. But hey, we appreciate you and being able to take some time and kind of just hang out, talk shop. We love the concept of the Channel Strong Tour. We're going to continue doing it, because feel like that'll help kind of ease things back into the mix. But thank you for coming out. Thanks for doing this session with us, guys. This session was recorded. Chad had some great ideas on how they do things. Sometimes it's best to learn from other people than doing it the hard way every single time. I highly recommend it. You'll save yourself a lot of aggravation if you understand what works rather than having to figure out what doesn't. So this whole session was recorded. It's online at mspinitiative.com under sessions. You'll be able to rewind, fast forward, download whatever you want. Hopefully we'll have Chad back in the future. We can talk more and see what else is going on as time progresses. Better start booking your vacations. If you didn't take that, out of this conversation, I don't know if you're paying attention. You should go start booking your tickets.
George, you didn't even mention the NFL draft. I think that would have come up with Chad being right in New Orleans.
Oh, I was, if I had my, I was, if I wanted to go all Eagles on you, because that's what I'm. I thought jersey. That was the first thing I saw. That was the first
baby.
All right, we'll see what happens tonight. Tonight's day one. I've got a couple of days. Okay. Anyway, definitely keep in touch. We do this Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1:00 Eastern time. This is totally podcasted. We'll soon have this up on all the podcatchers, and you'll be able to kind of keep track on your mobile devices. But come back every Tuesday and Thursday. We'll be here. Chad, we're gonna send you a special thank you for jumping on today. I really appreciate your time, and stay in touch.
All right, guys. Thank y'all.
Thanks,
Love what
Chad.
y'all are
Appreciate
doing.
you. Thanks, man.